Welcome students to the subject Computer Fundamentals. In the previous classes we have discussed the different generations of computers and we have studied the characteristics of computer. So in this video let us understand why we call computer as a system. And we'll also study the different hardware components that are present in the computer system. When I say different components, we have seen like CD drive, hard disk, RAM, motherboard, processor. So all these are the different components. So when we talk about system, it is always made up of some subsystem. When we say about computer, it is not made up of one particular device. So it consists of many different hardware devices, and each device has its own application, and all these devices interact with each other or they communicate with each other, and hence performs the tasks, and we can do our calculations or computations. In today's generation, many of us are using laptops and desktop PCs, but where we don't even use the CPU. But for our syllabus, we need to understand the important parts or the important hardware devices and components that are present in the CPU. So let us understand in more detail what all things are present inside the CPU and how these components are made up of, and the applications of these devices. So basically a computer system consists of three parts. One is the central processing unit, and input-output devices, and memory. So as we all have studied about the processor or the central processing unit, so this is the earlier days that we had the Intel Pentium 4. So latest we have different microprocessor as well, but Intel is the one which provides or which manufactures more number of processors, or we can say it is the leading organization which actually manufactures the processor. So what it performs basically, so when we say CPU, central processing unit, it performs two tasks, that is the arithmetical and logical operations. So when I say arithmetical operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, so all these are the arithmetical operations, and logical operations are like comparison, like when I want to compare two numbers, or smallest of two numbers or largest of two numbers. So whenever there is a comparison work or comparison task, that can be also performed by the CPU. Next is the input-output devices. So again we have different input-output devices like keyboard, monitor, modem, which is used for the internet connection, mouse, joystick for playing, speakers, printers, and so on. And we call them as the peripherals. So what is the meaning of peripherals? So these are not inbuilt. So for example, when I say CPU, inside the CPU the motherboard will be there, and it will come with the manufacturer. But whereas keyboard, monitor, mouse, these are the different peripherals. So whenever it is required we can connect them. No doubt to operate the computer, a monitor, keyboard, mouse are essential, but these modems, joysticks, speakers, printers, these are not essential things. So we can plug and play them. So that's why we can call them as the peripherals. So whenever it is required we can plug them and we can use them, and once the application of that is done we can remove it. Like for example speakers, so it is not required usually, and printers, so if it is required we can just plug it and we can use it. So that's why we call them as the peripherals. And next is the memory. Like we say that computer has the storage capacity, so it should have some space or it should have some memory. So again memory is categorized into two, that is the primary memory and the secondary memory. So this primary memory is directly accessible by the CPU. So where whenever we are running any applications or when we are executing any tasks, so that is run by the primary memory, or basically we give the example of the RAM, random access memory. But one more we have, that is the secondary memory, or the example is the hard disk or your pen drives. So all these are the secondary storage devices we call. So they will not be used to run an application, but whenever we want to store the data permanently, okay, or for a longer period of time, we use this secondary storage devices. So we call them as the external memory for storing the data. Let us discuss about the computer hardware. So in this we are going to study the different components, okay, and the motherboard, the circuit board we can say, and the chassis and other peripheral devices, cables, how they are connected to each other, and what are the slots are present, and how they interact with the central processing unit. So all those things we are going to study. And one more point we need to remember is that it does not include data or computer program. So all these different devices, they don't include any data, or we are not storing any information or programs in that, but they help us to communicate, or they provide us an interface to the computer so that we can do our task, or we can complete our work. Now let us quickly understand these two terms in simple way, that is RAM and ROM. So the full form of RAM is random access memory and ROM is read only memory. So let us understand what is the minimum random access. So basically this RAM we call it as the volatile memory, or we can also call it as the short time memory and the temporary memory. We call this as temporary memory because, so whenever the computer is on, only during that time we can access the information present on this, and its space is very small. Like in the modern days, if I say I am having a laptop, or if I say I am having a desktop computer, my RAM will be almost like at the maximum 4 GB or 8 GB. So usually this is the way how we use the computers. And the one drawback of random access memory is, so whenever the computer is turned off, or when we turn off the system, the information that was present in the RAM will disappear. So whenever I restart the system, or I reboot the computer, the RAM will be empty. So when I start executing the applications, the information will be present, and the moment when I turn off the system, the information will be vanished. So that's why we call it as the volatile memory, or we can also call it as the temporary memory or the short time memory. So a memory device in which information can be accessed in any order. So also the advantage of having RAM is we can access it in any order. So we have some accessing mechanism. So in detail we are going to study in when we talk about sequential access and other information. But as of now we can access the information in any order. So that's why we can call it as the random access memory. And one more we have is the ROM, that is the read only memory. So as the name itself suggests, this is also a small memory that actually comes with the manufacturer, and it allows fast access to permanently stored data. So whatever the information is present on the secondary storage, that we can access it. But the problem that we have with this is we cannot modify or update the information. So we can just access the data or the information. So that's why we call it as the read only memory. So we can just access the information, but we cannot do any modification or alteration, we cannot do. So a small memory that allows fast access to permanently stored data but prevents addition to or modification of the data. So this is what we call it as the RAM, and this is the ROM. So ROM is basically like an integrated circuit, but it is not a exactly that. So this RAM, if you observe, it consists of the notches here. So these are, we call them as the notches, and then it consists of small pins, and in the RAM slots we are going to mount them. So 128 pin RAMs and so on. So these are the central processing unit or the microprocessor. So as you can see, we have the different AMD processors, Intel Celeron. So all these are the different processors that are available. So now let us understand the motherboard and how these different components are mounted on it, and what are the different slots that are present on the motherboard. So this is the typical motherboard that we use today, and if you can observe here, we have many different slots. These we call them as the slots, like this, and where we can mount different components, and each component has its own application and use for specific purpose. So most important thing is the central processing unit. So actually the CPU is beneath this heatsink and fan. So below that we will be having our small microprocessor, and that will be present. So the heat that comes out of the microprocessor, for that we have this heatsink and fan. So where the heatsink will take all the heat from the take out all the heat from the CPU, and it gives out. So that's why we have to put a fan here. And then we have these RAM slots. Okay, so on those RAMs will be placed on this, so there will be a lock that will be present, and we need to open it with smoothly, and then we need to place this. So we can have extra slots as well. So similarly, when we want to connect the input output devices at the back of the CPU, if you observe, so there we can connect all the your keyboard, mouse and other things. Similarly, we can have this IDE connectors. Okay, so to pass the power supply from one device to other devices, we use this IDE interfaces. So let us understand in detail about all these individual components. So the CPU is usually protected by from heat by a heat sink and a fan combination. So the CPU will be in fact the microprocessor will be present below this, and above that we have this heat sink, and then we have above that we have the fan. So this is the one more example of motherboard, and where you can observe they have named all these different components and different minute elements that are present on the motherboard. So we will not go in much detail about all these small devices, but whatever is essential to understand, that we need to study. So the most important thing is the CPU socket. So where a small locking system will be there to open that, and once we open that, we can place the microprocessor, and above that we actually place this heatsink. And then we have the RAM slots, the primary memory, what we call. So we have 4 slots here. So some motherboard may have 3 slots. Usually we don't use all the slots, but these are like for extension. Suppose say that I have the computer system and I'm using it from last 5 to 6 years, and I want to increase my capability of the computer system. So if I have earlier days, if I have 2 GB of RAM, now if I want to increase the RAM, I can use it. These external slots I can use it. I can add one more RAM into this particular slot. So if I add 2 more GB of RAM, so my capacity of the RAM, the computer will be increased. So I will have a 4 GB of RAM now. So this is what we have studied, the unbundling of software and hardware. So if I want to increase the capacity of any particular device, I can easily do in this 5th generation. So this is the advantage of having this particular structure. And this is the back panel where we connect the input output devices, and we have this PCI slots, and then we have the connectors for the SATA connection for the hard disk and other peripherals. And then we have this CMOS battery, and we have different small capacitors and so on. So it is a combination of many different components. So we can call this as a system. So all these devices in fact interact with each other with this wired connection, or some devices have the onboard connections, we can say. Onboard in the sense they are mounted, so there are no wired connections from some devices, but they are mounted. So with the help of this electronic circuits, the information or the data will be passed from one location to the another location, and they interact with each other. So this is also a more clearer way of motherboard, you can say. And we can say that in the 5th generation we had millions of components, they are integrated, or large scale integration. So this is the reason why we call it as the ultra large integration. So all these different minute components are present on the circuitry board, and they have their own application. So these all are the different hardware components that we have. So basically, when we say from the outside, we have this computer case, I mean the CPU. This is what we call as a CPU, but inside that we have motherboard. Basically on that we have this RAM will be mounted, I mean RAM will be put on this, and then we have the CPU, processor, hard drive, floppy drive. These are basically external devices, but they will be put inside this case. And when we say they are clubbed inside this case, we need to have some connections from hardware to the motherboard and floppy drive to motherboard. So all these are connected on the motherboard basically. And mouse, keyboards, monitors, printers, these are the external devices, or they are the peripherals. And then we have some sound cards. Okay, so all these are the different components that we need to understand. So this is how we can add a RAM, or we can place the RAM on the RAM slot. So at the end of this particular slot, we'll be having two locks, okay, like the white color that you can see here. So we need to just open it gently, and then this RAM can be placed on that. So the RAM will have some notches, so according to the notches we need to place it. So if you change the direction of it, it will not work out. So you need to based on the direction we place it on the particular slot, and once it is placed, we need to again lock this. Okay, so at the back of the computer, if you observe, we have these input output terminals. So basically these are present on the motherboard, but the motherboard is placed vertically now. So because we have kept the CPU here in the vertical way, the case, outer case, so there you can observe. So here is the one where we get actually the power supply. So from the main electric power supply, from main switch, the power supply will come to this particular place, and from here we have something called as SMPS, switch mode power supply, and through there the electricity will be passed to all the different components. And we need to remember that every device has its own requirement for the electricity. So from the main current, from the main power supply, whatever electricity we get, that has to be distributed according to the limits of the different components. So we don't pass the entire power supply. So each individual device requires has its capacity. So according to that only we need to send it. So that will be taken care by the SMPS. So again, for the SMPS also we can have the outer fan to reduce the heat. And then we have this input output terminals, and we have this input output terminals for specially meant for the internet connection. So let us understand in more detail about these input output terminals. So this is what we call as the power input. So 3 pin will be there. From the main switch, the power supply will come to this, and basically for the SMPS, and through that the electricity will be passed to different devices. As you can see, AC power input, and then 110 volt or 220 volt selection switch will be there, and through that the power supply is transferred. So the most computers have icons and color coded connections to help with attaching all the required and optional peripherals. So every computer has its own color coding scheme, so that it becomes easy for the user to understand which device has to be connected where. So we have different color coding schemes to connect different devices. So in the earlier days, to connect to the keyboard and mouse, we use these connectors. So we call them as the PS2 connectors. So this blue color one will be used for the keyboard, and then we have the USB cables. For joystick we have the different one, and then mouse. So to identify, both will have, the keyboard and mouse will have same terminals, but to distinguish them we use this color coding scheme. So by looking at this color, we can attach the keyboard and mouse at the proper slots. And then to plug and play our USB devices like our pen drive and other devices, we use this USB connectors or the terminals. Universal serial bus, the meaning of this USB is. To connect to the joystick, we can use this particular pin or this particular terminal, and to connect to the printers we have this particular slot. But in these days we don't use this PS2 connectors for motherboard. In this, this keyboard and mouse also have this USB connectors as well. So these days we use to connect the keyboards and mouse, we use this USB cables only, or the USB ports only, and we'll have more number of USB ports in today's computers. So to connect the monitor or the LCD screen, we use this particular slot, a blue color one, and from the main power supply, it will come to the monitor. Or also we can use this UPS. We can use the UPS as well, and from the UPS also we can connect to this terminal. And these are used for the audio inputs, like we can use this speakers and for headset. For that we use this slots. And then when we want to connect to the internet, we use this Ethernet jack, like we say that RJ45 connectors and so on, so that we use it to plug the cable of the internet connection. And these ports are used for the phone modem for the input and the output. So when we want to get connected to the internet, we require a device that we call it as the modulator or the modem, which converts the electrical signal into analog signal and analog signals into electrical signals. So for connection of that, we use this modems. So for that we have these two slots. So in the nutshell, we have discussed the different ports and different components that are required to work with the computer. So in the next video we'll discuss in detail about how these different devices are present and what are the different cables that are required to connect these different devices. Thank you all.